Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us for this week's Thursday with AARP Wisconsin. I am Amber Miller, the Associate State Director of AARP Wisconsin, and also your host. So thank you again for joining us. So before we get started with our guest today, of course, just a couple of reminders that you can find additional information on the AARP Wisconsin website for upcoming events, vaccine information, advocacy. We'd like to say it's kind of a one-stop shop, so you can go to aarp.org/WI. If you're interested in volunteering with AARP, we are always looking to add people to our team. The information is below, which is aarp.org/I-want-2-volunteer. There's opportunities with fraud, advocacy, there's presenting, outreach. There's also some virtual opportunities, so you can go below to find additional information or to apply online, and one of us from the Wisconsin office will get back to you. Also, please check out the AARP Community Connections website. So this has a couple things, which is opportunities to volunteer in your local community, but also the AARP Friendly Voice initiative, which launched last year, and you could put a request in for yourself or for your loved one to receive a phone call, could be daily, monthly, weekly, from one of our trained AARP volunteers. As we know, during COVID, it's always nice just to hear a friendly voice on the other end. And that, of course, is the website below and also the phone number. You could be any age. You do not need to be an AARP member. Phone number right there is 1-888-281-0145. And once again, it's free and open to any age. And you can also find that information on the AARP Wisconsin website. So today we have the lovely Miss Lisa Lamkins with AARP Wisconsin, and she is here to talk about age discrimination in the workplace. And Lisa, I was doing a little reading on the AARP website, and it said that nearly 1 in 4 workers aged 45 and older have been subjected to negative comments about their age from supervisors or coworkers, and then also about 3 in 5 older workers have seen or experienced age discrimination in the workplace. So of course, you being here today, I think, is amazing, because I think a lot of people don't maybe even realize this is still going on, or maybe they've experienced it. So welcome, Lisa.
Well, thanks so much, Amber. It is always a pleasure to join you on Thursdays with AARP.
Right. So, of course, we're going to be talking about age discrimination. And if there is a new bill that's working its way through Congress that a lot of people might not know about, that is meant to help protect older workers from age discrimination. The bill is called Protecting Older Workers Against Discrimination. Also, I think, would it be POWADA or POWADA?
Yeah,
POWADA, thank
POWADA, which is also, not very easy to say.
Yeah, POWADA for sure. Thank you so much. So is age discrimination in the workplace still a problem?
Well, I think just to really build on the statistics that you shared, unfortunately, age discrimination still is a big problem in the workplace. We know it's wrong. We know it's against the law, but it's really pervasive. I'll add to some of the figures you shared. 78% of older workers report that they have either seen or experienced age discrimination on the job. That's huge if you think about it. We also regularly hear stories about older workers who are pushed out of jobs they've had for a long time, kind of before they're ready to retire. And only 10% of those workers ever earn as much as they did before. Kind of on the other end of that spectrum, we know when employers are hiring for jobs, sometimes that hiring discrimination is less visible, but it's just as pervasive. People get asked age-related information like, oh, when's your birthday? Or what year did you graduate? Then you can kind of calculate roughly how old someone is. And finally, unfortunately, this pandemic really has made everything worse, especially for older workers. 53% of older job seekers are unemployed long-term, compared to only 42% of younger job seekers. So, older workers, who really want to work and who bring so much to the workplace, sometimes are really struggling to stay there.
And it's sad and shocking, though, that people have maybe been in their job, or whether it's new or existing, and getting remarks of like, oh, when are you going to retire? Or, don't you want to not work anymore? And it's really sad, and especially when people feel like they are being pushed out. And I know you mentioned, Lisa, that age discrimination, of course, is illegal. If that's true, then why do we need this new bill?
Yeah, right. You would think we've already figured this out, right? Like, okay, we've said age discrimination is illegal. The problem is, way back in 2009, the United States Supreme Court basically had a decision that makes it harder to prove age discrimination. There was a case called Gross versus FBL Financial, and the Supreme Court said that if you're going to claim age discrimination, you have to prove that age played a decisive role in that discrimination instead of just being one part. So that makes it super high, a significantly higher burden of proof. And it only applies to age discrimination. If you are saying you've been discriminated against because of your sex or your race or religion, you don't have to show that reason is decisive. It only has to be one part of a reason for the discrimination. So in that case, basically the Supreme Court said, hey, some amount of age discrimination is legally allowable. And PAWADA would fix all of that.
And if you're just joining us, we are chatting with Lisa Lamkins with AARP Wisconsin, all about age discrimination, specifically in the workplace, in the new bill that maybe you haven't heard of. So if you have any questions, you can please post them below, and we will get to them very shortly. So what would PAWADA do, and how would it help then?
The thing is, this bill is actually pretty simple, but it's very important. And one thing to know is it doesn't expand civil rights. It really just restores the law back to the way it was before 2009. And it clarifies the intent of Congress to allow what they call mixed motive claims when it comes to age discrimination, just as they allow it for discrimination by race, sex, religion, etc. I think it's important to mention that support for PAWADA within Congress is bipartisan, because I think there really is, recognition that we need to restore fairness for older workers. And this would really help level the playing field for those people, those older workers, who are trying to fight back against age discrimination. And I think one thing I'll mention, because sometimes when people think about older workers, they're thinking about folks who might be close to retirement. But under the law, an older worker is anyone age 40 and older. So there are a heck of a lot of official older workers out there in the workforce.
I being one of them. So,
Me
yes,
too.
absolutely. So what is the status of the legislation, and how can people get involved?
AARP has been working on this legislation for many years now, and particularly this time around, we're calling on Congress to pass this bipartisan legislation. It's already passed the House of Representatives. I think it was last week or maybe the week before. I have a terrible sense of time. So especially with the holiday. And I will say, let me say thank you to the members of AARP, of Wisconsin's congressional delegation, who voted for this. So Representative Gwen Moore, Representative Ron Kine, Representative Mark Pocan, and Representative Glenn Grothman all voted for this bill. The other members of our delegation did not vote for it. And I actually want to give a special shout out to Congressman Grothman, because he's really been a champion on this issue and has been an original co-sponsor for many cycles now. And so he has really been very helpful. So this bill passed the House, it heads to the Senate. So we are asking folks to please call Senators Baldwin and Senator Johnson and urge them to vote for the bill. The bill number is Senate Bill 880. And you can just give them a call and say, hey, please pass the age discrimination bill. Or if you can remember to say PAWADA, please pass PAWADA. And there is a website where you can go to learn more about it. And it's aarp.org org/age discrimination.
And Lisa, if people go to that website, does it point them to the direction of Baldwin and Johnson?
Yes, they should be
Okay,
able to get to an action step from
great.
there. You can also just directly call their local offices, but you should be able to get all of that information from the website.
Great. And if you're watching this and maybe you are retired or maybe currently not working, we to do this on behalf of the community and your friends and family to reach out to Johnson and Baldwin is very important. Absolutely. Um, Lisa, what are some other things that AARP is doing to fight age discrimination?
Yeah, well, in addition to really working for stronger laws and policies that help, protect the rights of older workers, we have some terrific programs that support people that are either fighting age discrimination or really just trying to stay in the workplace after age 50. So I would like to share a little bit about some of them. And Amber, I think you probably, know a lot about some of these pieces. So certainly chime in. One of the key things that AARP does is have an employer pledge program. So we work with companies to help them understand the value of older, experienced workers. And it's pretty cool to say that there are more than 1,000 employers who have already signed a pledge saying that they're committed to fighting age discrimination in the workplace. We also have an AARP job board, and it's an online job board designed to kind of connect older workers who are looking for work and with employers who are committed to fighting age bias. And so there's a website, it's jobs.aarp.org. And folks can go there if you're looking for employment in your local area. And another program that Amber, I suspect you may know more than I know about is the Back to Work at 50 Plus. This is a program of the AARP Foundation, and it provides training and tools that older adults need to compete for today's jobs. For many of us, I know I have never applied for a job, say using LinkedIn. My resume is not necessarily digitally savvy. So this is AARP has all these great tools that can help people make sure that they're understanding and as up to date as they possibly can be. And there's a website for that Back to Work at 50 Plus. Cleverly, it's aarp.org/back to work 50 plus.
And it is free. And right now, because of COVID, I think all of their offerings are virtual. So if you're looking to maybe get back into the workforce, I was on this website. We actually had somebody from the foundation talking about this in one of our earlier shows. I believe it may have even been earlier this year, and just so many free resources that even if you are employed, I say definitely encourage you to take advantage of stopping at that website.
Yeah, I mean, I think people sometimes don't, when people think of AARP, they think sometimes of getting ready for retirement, but
Right.
AARP is doing a ton in, the space of people, wanting to stay employed. I know there are ways people can get help with their resume and kind of all sorts of different things. And then I think just kind of back to that original website of the aarp.org/age discrimination, there are some like practical advice, tips, resources to kind of help identify age discrimination and to fight it if you feel like you might be experiencing that in your workplace.
And Lisa, if okay with you, I'm going to plug one more thing. And actually, I'll probably talk about it when it's coming up. But there is also Work for Yourself at 50 plus. So if you're currently employed or maybe underemployed or in between jobs, but maybe you're looking to start your own business or you've been doing something on the side and you're like, wow, I think this could be a viable business. Work for Yourself at 50 plus is another great resource that AARP has, which, thank you, Darren, is coming up on Wednesday the 14th, and it's in collaboration with the Fox Valley Technical College. So Work for Yourself at 50 plus, it's 2 p.m. if I'm not mistaken, it's an hour. You can go to the AARP Wisconsin website and register for that. It is free. And I have personally sat through that workshop, it's great, gives you a lot of information, but definitely a first step of like, wow, I could start my own business as another option if you wanted to be your own boss.
Yeah, that's a great option.
Absolutely. And so, Lisa, people may not even recognize if they've been a victim of age discrimination. Now that we're just kind of talking, some of the comments that I think people make to, their coworkers or to other people, they just might even brush it off. So what are some signs to look for to know if you are experiencing workplace age bias?
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think unfortunately too many times, we brush it off or maybe don't call other people on it. But when we hear things, there are certain comments that definitely have a bias against older workers. When you say things like younger workers are energetic or they're fresh faces or new blood, and older workers are, set in their ways, that really kind of indicates a discriminatory mindset. And those are the kinds of phrases that we should avoid. There are some things that seem a little more obvious. If younger workers get all of the promotions, if they get the trainings, if they get, kind of all the cool projects, and older workers continually raise their hands for those, but are always passed over, then that is definitely a sign of ageism. And the same is true for buyouts that are only offered to older workers. It's really important to, kind of treat everyone the same way. Um, there are a lot of assumptions that go along with this. If you're always saying that your older coworkers, don't understand technology or social media, or if younger workers have, all of the energy and can work long hours, and that, older workers can't work as hard, that's really discriminatory, and it is definitely not true. Um, and I think finally, it's really important to be aware of things like social segregation. If everybody but older workers are part of, say, the office fantasy football league or the office happy hour, then that really shows a culture of ageism. And all of these things kind of contribute to a culture within a workplace that they by themselves, they don't necessarily mean somebody's been discriminated against, enough, say, for legal action, but it creates a culture where people are more likely to experience that kind of discrimination. And so, we encourage people to check themselves and make sure that they're not perpetuating that.
And I appreciate the examples that you gave, Lisa, because, in today and really any work environment, you're working with people of different ages, genders, races, backgrounds, and, excluding someone or treating them different. You're making assumptions about them that you might not even be true. So to be mindful of also how that makes somebody feel, and it can change the whole company culture.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think as we're getting more mindful about how we interact with others in the workplace, it's important to know that age discrimination, kind of can go both ways, right? If you say that everyone, every 22-year-old worker doesn't know what they're doing or they just want to play around, that can also be discriminatory. So we all bring different perspectives, different experiences, different insights to the work that we do. And so having, a broad range of ages, in addition to a broad range of cultures and races and, sexes, all of that makes for a much, better workplace and a much better product, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And Lisa, if our viewers right now are watching this and they're like, oh, you know what, I have been, felt discriminated at work. So what should people do if they do believe they are the victim of age discrimination?
Well, in Wisconsin, if somebody has a complaint, you can go to the Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development, and they have an equal rights division. Probably the easiest way to start is to email a complaint to erinfo@dwd.wisconsin.gov. And you can always get more information about the legal specifics at the Department of Workforce Development website at dwd.wisconsin.gov/ER.
And Lisa, it does look like we have a question from Jim. Has age discrimination legislation traditionally been a partisan issue, or is there support for change from both parties?
Yeah, thanks, Jim, for that question. And actually, age discrimination has been one area where we have had bipartisan support, and this bill is no different. We've had support from both parties, not unanimous support, but good support from across, from both aisles. And I think that's it's really important. People understand this is something that many people have experienced. At the top of the show, I said 78% of older workers have experienced themselves or have seen in their workplaces some kind of age discrimination. Um, what are we hearing in today's world? If you turn on the TV, if you pick up a newspaper, you can't read any media piece without hearing about there are no workers. Nobody wants to work. Well, older workers often want to work or they need to work. And so it is a terrific resource if they feel valued and welcomed and are hired as part of that process. So we really do urge Congress to keep up bipartisan support for this issue and to pass the cleverly named POWADA, Protecting Older Workers Against Discrimination Act. Say
And we
that
will
3
make sure
times fast, Amber.
yeah, we will make sure we put that in the notes for the show, because that is kind of a hard one
It is
to
hard.
remember. And Darren, if we could put the website back up one more time for Back to Work at 50 Plus. I know in my position at AARP, especially pre-COVID, doing the outreach, and now with people emailing who have my contact information, one question is, I'm looking for a job and I can't find one. And some do think it's related to their age. And I love that there are resources that AARP can offer that I just don't know if everybody knows about. So the Back to Work at 50 Plus, just want to make sure that's up there. And then the job board, once again, as Lisa said, there's over 1,000 employers that have committed to hiring 40, 50 plus. And all that information can be found on the websites that we just put up. And Lisa, do you have any other final comments or suggestions for our viewers regarding age discrimination?
Yeah, I think one of the important things is if to call people out. If you hear some of these things within your workplace, just like you wouldn't let comments slide around discrimination based on sex, race, religion, don't let it slide based on age as well. That's really at the heart of this entire piece of legislation is to, not make age discrimination sort of the thing that's kind of okay. We're okay with that while other forms of discrimination, we're against. So really be cognizant of that and, revel in and appreciate the experiences that older workers bring to the table. And there have been study after study that actually show how productive, how committed, and all of the good things that older workers do bring to the table. And so I think it's really time for everybody to recognize that.
Yes, absolutely. And Lisa, when it comes to POWADA, will there be updates on the advocacy part of Wisconsin, AARP Wisconsin website, just in case people do kind of want to keep an eye on AARP and this bill?
Yes, absolutely. We will have an update on our website. Like I said, it's passed the House, so it goes to the Senate. Unfortunately, things don't move as much in the Senate as we would like, which is why we are trying to at least make sure that our Wisconsin senators know that there is broad support for this bill in Wisconsin. So again, just urging folks to contact Senator Baldwin and Senator Johnson and urge them to support the Protecting Older Workers Against Age Discrimination Act.
Great. Lisa, always a joy to see you. And if I could give you 30 seconds just to plug this, it's not related to age discrimination, but this morning you had an amazing teletown hall about EBB. Would you maybe just give 30 seconds about what that is, and then maybe where people can go just in case they couldn't be on the teletown hall this morning?
Yeah, absolutely. We had a terrific guest from the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, telling us about a new benefit. It's a federal benefit. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, or EBB for short. And it's really to help people with the high cost of their internet service. It's $50 a month for your service, or $75 a month if you live on tribal lands, plus $100 towards the purchase of a device like a laptop or a computer or a tablet. So it's a really good benefit. We've got about 70,000 households in Wisconsin that have already registered, but we know there are tons more people who are eligible. You do have to meet certain requirements to be eligible, but they are broad, and lots of people should be eligible for it. It's a temporary program that will last until the funds for it run out, but there's about $3 billion. So there's a good amount of funds in there, but we are encouraging folks to apply. So you can check out AARP's website on that, which is aarp.org/EBB. Or if you have a cell phone, you can just text the word internet to 22777, and you can get more information about the program. You know, how to apply, what the eligibility is, all that good information. So, hey, high-speed internet is a necessity. It can be expensive. So we are encouraging folks to take advantage of this benefit. It was really came out of the pandemic. So if you think, oh, no, I'm not eligible, that might not be true. You very well may be. So by all means, check it out.
Great. Thank you so much, Lisa. And please, definitely check the website below. Lisa, always a joy. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next month, talking all about advocacy and all the goodness that you do.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Lisa. And for next week's show, we will actually have another special host. It will be Sam Wilson, our state director. We'll be talking about, we'll have some special guests from local organization, but it's all about navigating the caregiving journey, which of course is a topic that's near and dear to a lot of folks. So you'll come back here next Thursday, July 15th at noon, with once again special host, our state director, Mr. Sam Wilson. And then for some upcoming events, I know I already talked about the Work for Yourself at 50 Plus. So once again, if you're interested in starting your own business, we also have a one-day university lecture series presented all about the science of sleep and stress. I think I might take that one. July 16th, movies for grown-ups, All the Streets Are Silent. And July 20th, Cool History, all about ices, gelato, sorbet, and more, the food historian lecture. All of them are free, but you do have to pre-register, and you can find all those events at the website below, or call the 877 number below, and please, of course, pass that along to your friends and family. Lastly, always like to plug the upcoming Small Dollar Big Impact Grant. Effective this month, we will be awarding 2 grants per month until the end of the year, so up to $1,000 for 2 participants or recipients of nonprofits and local organizations. So if you have a really cool, trendy, innovative idea that you would like to do in your community, please fill out an application by July 21st, and it's below at aarp.org/WISDBI. And of course, then you can also find information on upcoming applications if you will not be submitting one for July. So of course, thank you so much for joining me today. And once again, Sam Wilson will be your host next week for the show. So he's always fun and entertaining. So I know he'll definitely be open to any questions you might have for our guest. So we look forward to seeing you in about a week. But until then, be safe and go Bucks.